this is In Conversation on KBC English Service, and I'm your host Khainga O'Okwemba. Our guest today, a top scientist in the country, Professor Omu Anzala. He is a virologist, an immunologist, and of course an expert on infectious diseases. Professor Omu Anzala is actually one of the advisors to the government today on COVID-19. He's come to our studio to help us understand, and later on in the program he'll actually tell us if the measures that are already in place are sufficient enough for us as a country to suppress this virus.
It is after my postdoc in University of Oxford in 2000 that I now came back to Kenya, to the Department of Medical Microbiology, and established CAVI, Institute of Clinical Research.
So you're actually the brainchild behind CAVI?
Yes, we are actually, me and the two colleagues who passed away, Professor Dwyer and Professor Chola Dinya, are actually the brainchild of Kenya AIDS Vaccine Initiative, which is now called CAVI, Institute of Clinical Research. Yes.
Great. Now, Prof, you spoke there quite about training as a virologist and as an immunologist.
Yes.
So let's get it right from the professor himself.
Yes.
When you train as a virologist, exactly what are you training to do? Who is a virologist?
You know, in infectious diseases, in medicine, in the study of medicine, human medicine, in infectious diseases are subdivided into 3 or 4. We have viruses, we have bacteria, we have fungi, and we have parasites. So you study those ones first to understand all the pathogens, and then you narrow down now to viruses. So my initial training was to understand all the infectious diseases, and then now specifically narrow down to viruses. And that's why now you become a virologist. Yes.
I did introduce you as one of our leading researchers on HIV/AIDS, and you just say there that not just AIDS or viruses, but you actually studied just infectious diseases.
Yes.
But let's talk about HIV/AIDS.
Yes.
Yeah, where did this disease come from, and what kind of research have you been doing?
It was actually also a spillover from animals to humans. There is an interesting aspect of medicine we call One Health. One Health is medicine that combines understanding of animals and understanding of humans, and then understanding diseases can actually spill over from animals to humans. So we believe sometime in the past, HIV spilled over from animals to humans. And once it got into humans, then it started human-to-human transmission some time back. When it actually occurred is difficult to tell. But from the studies that have been done for 30 years that we have had HIV/AIDS and HIV virus in particular, it is clear that it was a spillover from animals to humans. Yes.
So when you say of a spillover from animal to human,
Yes.
is what you medicals call of a zoonotic spread.
Yes, you are correct, O'Okwemba.
Great.
It's
Now,
exactly that word, zoonosis or zoonotic. I didn't want to use it, but now it's good that you've actually brought it.
Great.
Yes.
Now, so how does it then? How does a virus come from an animal to a human body?
Usually, the viewers must have heard us talk about human. All right. Anytime you hear us talk of a virus that is called human, like human immunodeficiency virus, then it means there's an equivalent of it in the wild, isn't it? In the wild, we call it simian, because it originated from non-human primates. Simian is a word that means non-primate humans. So it means that it was there before, and because of the interactions we sometimes have with animals, because either we keep them as livestock or we use them for various aspects of it, then there's a way the viruses can change and then move over from animals to humans from time to time. Sometimes they do, but they find a dead end because they cannot propagate into a human host. So those ones that do spill over and then begin to propagate is that they change a bit of their coding so that they are able to infect human cells. Because a virus can only grow if it infects and goes inside the human cell, unlike bacteria and unlike parasites. Yes. Yeah.
As you are walking into the studio, you did mention also, chemical or biological warfare.
Yes. Yeah.
That a virus, I want you to say it yourself.
Yeah.
Were you trying to suggest that a virus can actually be manufactured in a laboratory? Because I'm trying to actually understand where do viruses come from, the origin or the genesis of these viruses that then come and affect human beings. Is it just that you scientists in a laboratory can actually create a virus and then it becomes this very dangerous animal that threatens human species?
It is the answer can be either yes or no, but there are a lot of viruses in the wild. A lot of viruses in the wild. And every species has its own viruses. Even as humans, we have our own viruses. We call human viruses that are not found in the wild. So there are issues of biological warfare, but biological warfare is when people just utilize existing pathogens to try and use them to kill other people. It is not necessarily that they create the virus in the lab. They just use the existing viruses. But you see, it will be difficult to use such a biological system because then you must have an antidote. Because once you release a virus, you might have no way of knowing how it will spread. You can see in December we were talking of this outbreak of coronavirus in Wuhan, in China, in December. Now we are talking of what? Of this virus all over the world in a period of only what? 4 months. And that is a whole issue that even when people talk about biological warfare, they must be careful in the sense that whoever is going to do it must have a way to say that I've protected myself, so it will kill others, but not kill myself. Yes, and that's why that word is used, usually a lot of the time, but it is not as simple as people put it. Yes, we don't have a cure. There have been only 2 or 3 cases of a cure, I know, using bone marrow, but that's not a standard approach to how we manage infectious diseases. But for medication, the medication does not cure. It only suppresses the virus so that those who are infected can live a normal life. But our quest really is that we want to look for prevention because HIV has not gone away. Although people don't talk much about HIV, HIV has not gone away. HIV is still infecting people. HIV is still a problem. So for us, as we manage and treat those infected, we also have programs to ensure that we put out programs to prevent people from getting infected. But at the same time, we are putting in a lot of resources and a lot of work on trying to find a vaccine for HIV. It has been difficult because HIV is one of the viruses that mutate so quickly, it keeps changing so fast, and the immunology or the immune response is always chasing the virus. But the other problem is that once you get infected with HIV, one gets infected for life. There is no recovery. We don't recover from the virus to show the immune system. What the immune system wants to see is somebody who has recovered. And that's where the problems of HIV has come from. Just information we have now is that bats, I don't know what is the word in Kiswahili. Is it popo? Yes. We believe that this virus originated from bats. And the reason is because the sequence, when you look at the sequence I mean the genome, the instructions of how this virus looks like, the COVID or SARS-CoV-2 as we are calling it, is very closely related to coronaviruses they see in bats. So the scientists now believe that again this must be a spillover from bats to humans. But they're thinking that it was not direct, maybe it moved through another host to get into humans. Yes. So that is the current understanding now.
Trying to educate us on how this coronavirus, where it came from, and how it then got itself into the human body. Yes, if you could actually take us.
Yeah, actually in December is when China realized what in medicine we would refer to as atypical pneumonia. A pneumonia that they didn't know what was causing that one. And eventually they discovered the SARS-CoV-2. Initially we were calling it Wuhan virus. Now, once that came clear, this virus was quickly isolated and then sequenced. And now that's when they discovered that it was a coronavirus. Coronavirus is a large group of viruses found both in humans as well as in the wild. So when they looked at this virus more closely, they actually realized that it was related to a bat. All right? So bats, there are so many species of bats who carry their own coronaviruses. And then looking back again, there was an outbreak of coronavirus, SARS-CoV-1, in 2003, 2004. Again, this COVID, or SARS-CoV-2, is again closely related to that particular virus. So it is clear now that this virus must have originated from a bat, maybe got into another animal before it spilled over into humans. How long it took is now an issue of trying to understand exactly what route it took. But it is now very clear that it's very, very closely related, almost 89% to the bat viruses. Yes.
So I want you to talk as a scientist, because you've actually had it said from very prominent personalities, some of the major news outlets, international news outlets, actually suggesting that this COVID-19 could as well have come as a result of trying the technology, the advancement in technology, trying to roll out the G5 mobile telephony.
Yes, those stories I've had, but usually the relationship between the outbreak of SARS-CoV-2 and COVID disease and the rolling over of the G5, it's things that are hard to really relate. And for me, what I'll say that this is a new virus, it is an outbreak, it is actually a spillover from the wild into the humans. And I think all this relationship that we are trying to relate this outbreak to is stretching things too far. Because there was an outbreak in 2002, 2003. There was another outbreak of coronavirus called MERS-CoV, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, not too far from us here, in 2012, 2013. So there have been how many outbreaks before? 2. This is the third one. So if you look at that, you can actually see the relationship with the wild and how these viruses then move into humans. Yes. So I would just consider it like any other conspiracy theories that people bring about when there is something new that is unknown. But let's wait. Time will tell, because the whole area is evolving very, very fast. The truth is beginning to trickle in slowly as we understand this outbreak more. Yeah.
How then this virus was transferred from the animal to human?
Usually it is handling animals. The wet market in Wuhan is a market where they sell live animals. And selling live animals for consumption means that you have to keep the animals alive in cages, very closely stuck with each other. You have slaughtered the animals, and in that process of close proximity with animals, that's how these viruses then move from animals to humans. Yes. And then if they are able to really establish themselves in humans, then now you can begin human to human transfer. There are those that get into humans and it is a dead end, because the viruses cannot grow in human cells for one reason or the other. Yes.
So what does this virus do when it gets into the human body?
It's a droplet infection, meaning that the first sites in the human body that get infected are the upper respiratory tract, the nose, the throat. Those are the first sites that are infected with this virus. And that's why we have been advised about wearing masks, issues to do with coughing, put away whatever handkerchief, or if it's something, that's where we've been told about washing hands. So once it starts replicating the upper respiratory tract in the nose and the throat. Eventually, it starts then moving through the trachea and into the lung tissue. And once it reaches the lung tissue, it's when now it causes massive growth and inflammation, what we call inflammation. And hence now people begin coming down with pneumonia.
Mm-hmm.
So initially this was atypical pneumonia because they didn't know the cause. But now we know the major problem is actually in the lung tissue. But once it's in the lung and you can't inhale, you can't consume oxygen, then the lack of oxygen begins to cause problems in other organs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because you are literally suffocating. And if you suffocate, it means organs also do what? Suffocate. Mm-hmm. And hence, that's why you hear of a multi-organ failure, mm-hmm. because of lack of oxygen. You know, oxygen is what makes cells metabolize nutrients, isn't it? Get rid of toxins, all right? But when oxygen is not getting in, it means also the byproduct, carbon dioxide, is also not getting out, mm-hmm. because the lungs are clogged with fluid due to inflammation. Mm-hmm. And this is the major problem with COVID-19 disease.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And why does it then find it? Why does it then settle on the lung organ? That is the area that it would actually, the site in the body that it gets into, and then it starts destroying that particular part of the human body.
Viruses, unlike bacteria and parasites, have to get inside the cell. All the cells in the human body carry different molecules on the surface. All right? Mm-hmm. So you will hear that HIV infects CD4 cells, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You will hear hepatitis B infects hepatocytes. All right? It's because on the surface of that cell is something we call a molecule that we refer to as a receptor. And then the virus uses that receptor to bind to that receptor and have access inside, to get inside of the cell. And that's why viruses are so specific in terms of what cells they infect. Mm-hmm. Now the respiratory tract, all right, and the cells we find in the respiratory tract have a particular receptor that aids the binding of what? Of coronaviruses. And remember that we already know of 4 coronaviruses that infect humans.
Mm-hmm. Namely?
We have the human coronaviruses. One is called C41, another one is HK, another one is CH, and then we have the SARS-CoV-1 of 2000, and then we have the MERS-CoV of 2013. Now SARS-CoV-2 is now the 7th. So they are now going to be a total of 7. And all of them are viruses of the respiratory tract because it carries the right receptor for those particular viruses to infect the respiratory tract and down into the lung tissue. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So viruses, unlike bacteria and parasites, are not haphazard. Mm-hmm. And that's why they have a liking for the respiratory tract because of the right receptor on the cell surface we find in our respiratory tract mm-hmm. and the lungs. Mm-hmm. Yes. That's why it is dangerous, because of ease of transmission. Mm-hmm. You cough, you sneeze if you are infected, you release the virus into the environment. It also settles on surfaces. So when you touch that surface and you touch your face, you touch your nose, you touch your eyes, that virus has ability to also infect. So it is dangerous because of ease of transmission. But also is also because of the fact that there could be people who have the infection but are not sick. All right? So he's walking around, he's normal, no fever, no pain, no cough, but they are transmitting the virus to the surfaces and to the environment. That's why this virus is that lethal. Mm-hmm. But we know very well, so because of that nature then, mm-hmm. that's why you see it spreading very, very quickly. in the sense that one person is able to infect maybe 3 or 4 people unknowingly. All right? And that's the reason. And then you come down with the infection very, very fast. All right? And also the fact that it is also killing those who have underlying conditions. All right? If you have an underlying condition, I think you are easily infected. If you have underlying conditions, then you also stand a high chance of actually getting severe disease. That's why this virus is that lethal.
Its way of transmission or infection from one person to the other, like through coughing, sneezing, or if you touch a surface that has actually been infected by somebody who is a corona victim, a COVID victim. Do body fluids, can it be transmitted through body fluids? Actually, let me just be as a forthright. Can it be transmitted through sexual intercourse?
Body fluids means what? From the point of view of the respiratory tract, body fluids will mean anything coming from the upper respiratory tract. Will be sputum, if you cough. Any cough contains the virus. It will also be saliva, because it is all connected to the upper respiratory tract. We also now are having a sense that it could also be found in urine, as well as stool. And we are also saying it could also be found in blood. But now when it comes to issues of sexual contact, I think, O'Okwemba, we must be very, very clear that holistically, when you are having sex, you are not observing
social distance.
Yes. You may kiss, you may touch, you may exchange bodily fluids of the respiratory tract, isn't it? So that way, definitely, you will transmit the virus. So people should not just think sex, but think holistically. How do we carry ourselves when we are in a sexual encounter? So we are actually saying that social distancing means you stay away from people you don't know completely. All right? Yes. Because we know that in contact of that nature, you will transmit the virus. Because again, you are breathing so close to each other. And hence, we are requested when you are in public forum, put on a mask. Wash your hands on a regular basis. Avoid as much as possible touching what? Touching your face. No greeting of arms and social distancing. Because we now know that aspect. As we find out more, if in any way we discover other modes of transmission, then the right preventive measures will be put in place. Yes.